Hello there folks, this is Ferengi on board again. Welcome to my YouTube channel, a place where I take on different topics like spirituality, introspection, deeper analysis of different aspects of life and usually spirituality, dream interpretation, game design, game development, and several other topics depending on what people want. Uh, up till now I haven't seen many people ask me things, so usually I present different topics based on certain interactions with friends or people, the very few people that might ask me a few things, and after having certain discussions with them, I might feel, hey, why not turn this into an actual video and put it out for the world to see? If you're a game designer and you're wishing to have someone break down your game and do a thorough analysis of your game based on, of course, some limited perspectives, because I'm not some perfect being, but um, if you're willing to find someone who can um, take something in depth, right? Feel free to give me a link and I will drop a video about that game. So, the topic of this video will be a bit of sociology, but more like, again, deeper introspection. And it's about a question that I have, I've heard it quite recently, a few, one year at most, I think. And the question was, have you ever wondered why we need leaders? Okay, why we need leaders, why we need bosses, and why we actually would need a society. Okay, now, since we developed from animals, okay, based on evolutionary development, okay, which is the only way we have evolved, and even religion supports it indirectly, like Christianity says we have been created by a creator. Now, the point is that creator is a creation of our mind because we have in our minds created a shape, form, and name for the so-called process of creation, because the process of creation doesn't have to be an entity on its own. And we have been born out of a process of creation, and of course creation followed its points, and just like programming, it followed its code. And here is our solar system, here is our planet Earth, and as time passed, species appeared and we as well appeared. Now, the point is, just as the Bible also says, we have been born from the process of creation, but if Darwinism is correct, and or alien races may have played a significant or minor role in our development, that is something we may not necessarily know. To my concern, it's not something very important because there are far more important pressing problems each individual should attend to in this life than wondering whether aliens have been mingling with us. And more or less, considering our race is at most 1 or 2 billion years old, most likely we have been mingled with some, let's say, extraterrestrial life forms, of course, and I wouldn't be surprised if we would be nothing else than some of their experiments. But since we developed from animals, okay, it's obvious that we have been mingled with in a sort, in a way, because what human or being human would mean, okay? We are called human being, okay? We are called human beings because we are the only animals of this planet that are capable of actually being, okay? Any other animal that we have on this planet will most likely vibrate at the frequency of survival. That is why throughout its development, okay, humanity always required animals, okay. For example, humans required cats, being one of the first animals that they would uh, not necessarily turn into pets, but call on to their help, because rodents were a very great problem. And cats seem to be very fond of rodents in the sense that they would make a meal out of them. So, the enemy of my enemy is or can be my friend. That is why cats were revered in Egypt, because they were indeed like a, you know, godly favor. Okay? And since then, cats have been very important. And humans will always require the help of animals, because animals vibrating at the frequency of survival, okay, they will be very bent upon that. That is why it is very hard to trick an animal, okay, or ambush a certain animal even as a human, because, well, unless you're using guns to kill them, okay, if you want to ambush animals, usually it's not that easily with, thrown or melee weapons, because their survival is so keen. It's basically their whole function. Animals vibrate at the frequency of survival, so, well, they will always be based upon that. Uh, for example, the dog, right? Humanity required the dog's help, because as a human, when you are going hunting, okay, and you're stuck in forests, you're far away from the security that, your village or your city would provide. So the point about this is you would need an animal who's very bent on their survival, for example, the dog, okay? Because even the rabbit, for example, is very bent on their survival, but the rabbit won't come and give you any warning sign, it will just run away. So the dog has acute smell, has acute hearing, and even when they sleep, their survival is so powerful, okay, their sense of survival is so important to them, that even when they sleep, their senses are very accurate, okay? So it's not that they will feel any impending predator, but they will also start barking, which means that they will also wake you up, right? Because dogs also have a sense of loyalty. Now, this sense of loyalty is not necessarily, like a full-fledged loyalty. It's more like a game in a way. If you don't believe me, ask, dog trainers, like professional dog trainers, and they will tell you it's a bit of loyalty, but it's also a bit of, instant gratification. Since we have evolved from these species, okay, that exist only at the vibration of, survival, okay. Now the point about this is this survival, okay, is just unconscious, okay. It is unconscious because it's only based on the traumas, okay, and on the memory of your predecessors, okay. All your kinsfolk, let's say like that, even for animals, okay, all your kinsfolk's experiences are in your DNA as well, because they are transmitted, and any individual also impacts the so-called collective consciousness, okay, or the Akashic records of the planet, to which at a certain extent there is a connection, okay, and you can see that even in even in humans who go cuckoo. For example, one could take the aspect, let's say, of the well-known yanderes, okay, be they male or female, it doesn't matter, but the yandere is so obsessed with someone, okay, that's how they are portrayed in the genre, and they are so obsessed with someone, okay, that their survival depends on that, okay. It's more like a psychological survival, because they have a lust. Now, a lust, what would a lust mean? It's a very powerful desire, but again, it is an unfulfilled desire, okay. And an unfulfilled desire is can be quite problematic, because it gives someone the impression that, their life kind of sucks, okay. That is why, for example, advertisements, okay, they use the idea of lust, okay, because they invent you a problem that you may have, or it's not necessarily that bad, but they make you feel as if it's urgent to be treated, okay, mainly because they also have the cure for your problem, right? So it's something called problem reaction solution, okay. They give you a certain problem to which they also have the solution, but they first have to wait and see how you react to it, okay. That is why it's problem reaction solution. It's how humanity has also been led, let's say, for a very, very long time. Now, the point is, as humans, okay, we are called human beings, but unfortunately nowadays, given our still low vibration, we are more like human doings, because we are doing humanity instead of being humanity, okay? Now, humans are the only race on this planet that have this feature, okay? This feature of actually being instead of doing, okay? Now, all the animals on this planet are actually doings, because whatever they are doing, they are basically doing, they are not being, okay? They are doing things at the vibration of survival. So the point is they are always living in their unconscious or subconscious level. Okay, that is why their perception of this world is drone level. Okay, they are just doing what their instincts are telling them. Compared to that, humanity can do things, from an introspective version. Okay, they can do things consciously. Okay, which is a whole different level, because when you do things consciously, even if you do one little thing consciously, the fact of having been conscious means you have transcended your instincts. Okay, and this is something animals may not necessarily do. Okay, most likely they can't do that because their survival is too important for them. Okay, that's their own vibration, and it's nothing wrong with that. I'm not here to say humanity is superior to animals. This is the only thing that humanity has over other animals. Okay, but each animal has a lot of things that humanity doesn't have, and well, in this universe we as humans can only counteract that with our huge intellect, which unfortunately we are not making use of because, well, different self-imposed limitations. Okay, when we have as a society a lot of people who have been dumbed down and preserved at a lower vibration, the point is the intellect is becoming a very sharp weapon that turns against the person, because an untrained mind will easily feed a huge imagination, and a huge imagination is a big problem because if it is untamed, it easily turns against you. Okay, it's easy to become paranoia and things like that, because paranoia is nothing else than your own imagination turning against you. Now, since we developed from animals, okay, and we developed and our consciousness also developed, for a very long time we've still been living at the level of, the physical, okay. We are still living at a physical level, but slowly and surely humanity is transcending in terms of consciousness towards higher levels. But the point is, okay, this is a very slow process apparently, because there are a lot of forces seemingly fighting against this. Okay, and coronavirus is one of these situations. Okay, now the point about this is we've kind of been stuck in this aspect of 3D consciousness, as many call it. Okay, the idea of control, right? The first three chakras, the chakras of the physical body, because these three chakras are, representative of our survival. Okay, uh, survival at the physical level, the Muladhara, survival at the social level, let's say Swadhisthana, and well, Manipura, survival at a personal level. Okay, the idea of a persona, the idea of being yourself and your center of power. But let's not forget the center of the ego, okay, the seat of the so-called ego, okay, which is basically the persona or personas that the human mind creates, okay. But if this gets out of control, then there is kind of a little problem, because the mind can produce a lot of personalities, and some of them can actually become like fully fledged personalities, which might tend a bit towards schizophrenia. But well, that is one way of interpreting things. Okay, the idea of schizophrenia and such. Now, is that a problem or not? Well, there are people who actually exist with that, and they just are like a state machine, constantly switching from one personality to another. Okay, if people end up creating so many personalities, okay, excluding schizophrenia, but many people, they create masks because they need to survive in society around certain persons, right? Now, a little secret is anytime you want to do something in this world, you will need a certain ego, okay? You will need a certain persona, let's say, because when you are speaking to your boss, you will need a certain persona. When you are doing things on your own, again, you need a certain persona, right? If you're cooking, you'll probably need a certain persona. When you're doing programming or something that you love, you're gonna need another persona, right? So it's always that we have in our mind a lot of personas, but unfortunately, people forget one thing. People forget to simply detach from these personas. Okay, so basically, when that persona, okay, when the human remains stuck in that persona, okay, it's like the mask is glued to the face. Okay, that's when people call it a personality. Okay, now personality derives from the Latin persona, which means a mask. Okay, the mask was used to replicate, different deities, different special persons, right? And even let's say natural phenomena. Okay, and the actors would act based on that, and simply they would need that mask in order to uh, induce um, let's say more convincing uh, performance. Okay, to have a more convincing performance. Okay, so that um, the audience, most of them being illiterate, okay, the audience would have a easier time, okay, understanding such principles. Now, to go a bit further, the point of this, okay, of society and, well, living at an animalistic level, okay, we are still living at an animalistic level, and this is seen in all shapes and corners, okay, because when there is an animalistic level, there is the idea of control, okay, and just like in nature, the strong always bullying the weak, okay. A parent beats the child not because the child misbehaved, but because the parent has some issues of having been through that, and, well, considering, or in some cases they get stuck in the idea of it's the only normal thing. Okay, so the point is very simple: they will actually do that because they will think it's the only good thing. But the reason they do it is not because they've gone through that necessarily, it's because they are just exerting their power. Okay, it's just they're being some douchebags. Okay, now even in society you will see that society functions on the principle because I said so, right? And it's always been like that. In the medieval ages, people have been killed in the name of religion just because a certain person said it. Okay, just because the king said it, everyone would execute it. And you will see it even nowadays. There are so many of these people who do nothing else than, kissing other people's butts. And, well, that is a bit problematic, okay, because they are giving their power to some folks, and just because those people say something, they also may have the majority, and the others will simply be suffering. This is typical in the corporatist area, most likely, because, well, the corporatist area is led by a lot of people who simply are detached from their emotions, and, well, being detached from their emotions, they don't know how much pain they are causing to other people. More so than that, they might actually revere in, or what's it called? They might actually feel good in the pain they are causing others, because they might not consciously perceive that pain, okay, which is the problem. They are at least subconsciously perceiving that pain, because through creating pain, they're actually feeding their own masters, okay, their own little demons that they have, because, well, bad people always have these thought forms that control them, so more or less. So the very simple point is they have their own masters to feed, but at the same time they are ruled through being given the illusion of being in control. Now, how things go is, well, we have created forms of control because people are simply running away from their own responsibility. People and humans will always have leaders, and worse than that, bosses and societies, as long as individuals run away from their own responsibility. Because if you have a population in which everyone knows their responsibilities, okay, you don't need a society, because so long as people know their responsibilities and they are handling their responsibilities, the idea of a society is useless. It is simply irrelevant, because why would you need society when everyone is responsible of their own deeds? You have each and every job, or let's say structure in the population, do whatever they need, right? And now there is this mockery that is called democracy. Now, democracy means the power of the people, but how is it the power of the people? Okay, I mean, compared to monarchy and all the old ways of rulership, okay, the democracy only gives the people the power to simply elect their leader, but they still have no power. Why is it called the power of the people? Just because they can vote? Well, how do you even know your vote actually even counts? Okay, because your vote, how do you know it actually counts? Okay, like, do you even trust society? Like, society has been lying you ever since you were born. No, society has always been lying to you ever since you were born. Why am I saying this? Well, because when you were born, you knew nothing of this world. Your mind was pure, your mind was fresh. But you were born out of some parents who most likely were some, and still are, some sleepwalking zombies that, they don't have any awareness of themselves. They just live in the traumas of their past, okay, and in the worrying of the future. And, well, they will impose that upon you. And you also have school that will teach you all sort of rubbish that you don't need. And okay, school never teaches you how to survive in society, how to read people and understand whom to deal with, okay, in a certain way, how to differentiate between people who support you and people who would just take from you, right? How to make money, how to think for yourself. Now, when you say about thinking for yourself, well, you're gonna fight against the control of society, okay? And especially in this day, okay, in the day of the COVID, okay, if you are part of the, you know, forces of law and you're fighting against the population, then that automatically makes you a traitor of your own country, because this COVID is only a farce, and, well, it's only the pretext for, blood for the blood gods, okay? Every 100 years, if you don't believe me, do your research and you'll see 900, 1700, 1720, 1820, right? 1920 and now 2020. There has been a outbreak, okay? A pandemic that has claimed a huge number of lives, and the coronavirus is the newest one, but it is just a way of society to keep you enslaved until the real killer kicks in, okay? The real killer will be in the vaccines, and of course many people will be willing to kill themselves. On a spiritual level, it might be, a good thing, because they will be the heroes who offer to, suffer, and through that suffering help cure some of the karmic debt that we as a race have been creating and are still creating, because we are, devastating forests, we are killing billions of animals per year, and, well, people want to live in peace. Well, unfortunately, this is not something very good, okay? This is not sustainable living. So the point of a society, okay, a society is nothing else than a shadow, let's say, of us as a race, okay? It is a shadow because it's basically what we are hiding from, okay? Behind this idea of control and society, okay? Hiding from our own self and our own responsibilities has spawned this society, which is nothing else than our uncontrolled hatred and, lower natures, okay, in which we just want to destroy, to kill, and not simply care about anything, okay? It's still an enslavement of the past that we are slowly and surely curing, in the sense of the so-called comfort zone. Now, what do I mean about this is, people have existed for a very long time in illiteracy, and it's always been simple. You only do one or two things, you don't need to know much, you don't need to assume too much responsibility. That is why people are passing these responsibilities to society to save them. But society has been lying to you ever since you were born. You have been divided into all sorts of concepts like race, color, genders, creeds, nationalities, whatever these useless concepts, and, well, all these are just little lies that are programming you to live life in poverty, because you're constantly distracting, you're programmed to constantly distract yourself with all these petty little concepts, okay, and including the news. And, well, distractions are the only luxury of the poor people. That is why there are so many poor people on the planet, because they are not taught how to think for themselves, and they will simply fall for everything that is thrown at them. Why do you think there are so many distractions in the world? Because some folks are simply working towards creating the real killer, okay? The coronavirus is just a way to ensure that you are stuck in your houses and you're not gonna do anything, and it's also enforced by the law to not be allowed to do anything, while the vaccinations will be run and most likely the army will beat at your door forcing you to get vaccinated, or if not, you're most likely gonna be sent out of work. Okay, you'll no longer be allowed to work, you'll no longer be allowed to travel, because, well, that's what it is meant. There will be some vaccinations, but not for the COVID, because the COVID is the way they will keep a control over you, okay? And in each and every new year, they will most likely have a new version and a newer version and a newer version that will pop up, just so as to keep you under constant lockdown and, have your children become used to face masks, and anyone who fights against those will be, repressed by the population itself, okay? If you don't believe me, well, the plants that are looking to be planted in your minds are always in the movies, okay? It's called predictive programming. Take a look, for example, at the movie Birdsong, okay? Now, as I've been saying, the point about us is we are shifting in higher levels of consciousness, and there are folks in here, okay, disguised as humans, that simply do not want such things to happen, okay? Let's not become too paranoia, but the point is, beyond a certain level of awareness, okay, there will simply be no more need for the mind, okay, and the mind will also be ditched in a way. It will have a far less importance as well as control, because the mind requires control. Okay, the mind wants to know everything, even concepts that are beyond it, okay, beyond mere survival, like for example life and creation, okay. If you give definitions to these concepts, you're only creating a minute aspect of them, because, well, when you give a definition, you're giving a certain meaning, and a meaning means usually minimizing something, because life and creation cannot be included in a mind-based definition, okay, because the mind is only capable of understanding what is in the sphere of control and this physicality, okay. When you go beyond, like for example in dreams and other things, that is why those rarely make any sense, because they are beyond the mind, okay. What is beyond the mind is simply beyond the mind and cannot simply be understood, okay. Now, hopefully this video will serve as a eye-opener. All I can say is enjoy life, take care of yourself and your loved ones. You are loved and appreciated. Keep doing the wonderful work you are doing, and, well, all this being said, well, you are loved and appreciated. Become more introspective and you'll see that the answers you are looking for are easily found there inside of you, and they're barely waiting to be uncovered. One of the reasons why there are so many distractions is because there are so many people afraid of you discovering your inner power. All this being said, take care. You are loved and appreciated. Ferenc Can Bor signing out.